Hey, I'm MJ, and if I ask you who the one person in your life is that you can trust with your whole life, who would that be? A parent, a friend, a sibling, or maybe a twin? One time I went bungee jumping, and if you don't know what that is, it's basically an extreme sport where you get harnessed up with a cord strapped around your feet and you jump off a bridge. And I had to put all of my trust in the person that was strapping me into the cord, and I felt a little bit scared, but I knew that he knew what he was doing, and so I jumped. Let's watch today's God story to see what it looks like to trust in the Lord with all your heart.
Fun, gross fact: the reason why honey is so easy to digest is because it's already been digested by a bee. Hey friends, Zulema again. Remember last week when I was sharing the story about trying to figure out what to do after high school? Well, because of my love for knowledge, I decided to become a librarian. And I loved this job because I was able to learn so many things, but I was also able to help other people learn things. In today's God story, we're going to learn about how wisdom comes from trusting in God. In fact, that's today's big idea. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Today we are continuing in the book of Proverbs, which is a book about wisdom that was written by Solomon, one of Israel's kings. You may remember Solomon was the son of King David, and he was once offered anything he wanted from God, and Solomon chose wisdom. Let's jump right into Proverbs chapter 3. This chapter talks about the good things that come from being wise and trusting God. Now, it's important to remember that these things aren't guarantees, but they can happen. Let's read together. My child, never forget the things I have taught you. Store my commands in your heart. If you do this, you will live many years and your life will be satisfying. Never let loyalty and kindness leave you. Tie them around your neck as a reminder. Write them deep within your heart. Then you will find favor with both God and people, and you will earn a good reputation. This part of the chapter is telling us that if we keep the commands and hold truth and love close to our hearts, we will find favor with God and people. Do you know what favor means in this context? It means that you will be known as someone who lives well. Next, the chapter tells us who we should trust to live a good life. Can you possibly guess who that is? Let's read it together. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Do not depend on your own understanding. Seek His will in all you do, and He will show you which path to take. The Bible tells us that we should trust God to help us live a good life. It even says that if we trust God and follow the path that He has for our lives, we can have good health. If we honor Him with our money, He can give us what we need. King Solomon goes on to tell us not to hate God's instruction because He only instructs those He loves. It's like when your mom or your dad tell you what to do. They are preparing you to do what is right because they love you. Sometimes we may kind of hate it, but we need to remember it's to help us learn to live life the very best way. Solomon tells the reader that the person who finds wisdom and gains understanding is blessed. Wisdom is better than silver or rubies or anything else you could possibly want. God created the earth with wisdom and understanding. He set the heavens in place. We need to trust God to bless us with wisdom so that we'll make the right decisions, stay safe, and honor Him. At the end of the chapter, King Solomon gives us some instructions on what not to do. We shouldn't plan to hurt our neighbor, get someone in trouble who hasn't done anything wrong, or be jealous of someone who hurts people. I know sometimes at school or with a brother or sister, we may be tempted to do some of these things, but God tells us that we need to steer clear of them. The writer reminds us that honest people are God's closest friends, and who doesn't want that? Let's read the last verse together. Let the wise inherit honor, but fools are put to shame. As we have been talking about, wisdom is a very important quality of followers of Jesus. In today's God story, we learned that wisdom will gain us favor and blessing in God's eyes. And where can you find wisdom? In trusting God with your entire heart. God knows what is best for us and how to direct our lives. So in trusting Him, He can help us live a good life. If you're ever unsure of what to do, pray. Ask God for help and for wisdom, and trust that He'll help to direct you. Friends, thanks so much for spending time with me today.
Quickly turn to the person next to you and discuss the following questions before the time runs out.
Question time. Who do you know that trusts in the Lord with all their heart? How can you tell from the way they live?
That's great advice. When we don't know what to do, we can ask God for wisdom and trust that He'll give it to us. In this next story, Emily's mom thought that she could make things better by putting lots of time and energy into it. But then she realized that she needed to make some changes if she was going to trust God. Let's watch this.
I'd like you to meet my friend Emily. She's such a fun person, she's super active, and she always is smiling. Emily was born with Down syndrome, and kids with Down syndrome find it more difficult to learn and to take care of themselves than many other kids. Emily's mom, Debbie, did a lot of research on Down syndrome and worked out lessons to help Emily. They worked really hard, but Emily's mom realized that she was leaning so much on what they could do through hard work that she forgot to trust God. In that moment, she asked God to help her trust Him with all her heart and show her what He had for Emily. Let's see what happened then.
When Emily was a little girl, she always loved music and loved to dance in her room and perform for us.
When we go going, I love horseback riding, reading, writing stories, dancing. Me and my mom love Taylor Swift.
So when a friend told us about rhythmic gymnastics and Special Olympics, it was just a natural fit, as it was for many of our friends who had young daughters. So we got together, a group of moms who knew nothing about the sport, and then just started it. And right from the get-go, Emily loved the performing part of it. She started to excel. She started to win competitions locally, and then it went to the provincial level, nationals, and even at the world level. We're just so proud of her. She's been to 3 World Games in 27, 11, and 15 in China, Athens, Greece, and in Los Angeles. We've met such amazing people all over the world. Thinking of being in China and not being able to speak the language, yet you can communicate, and they have this love and joy of supporting people and supporting their abilities, what they can do. So after the last World Games, Emily was getting a little bit older, and we decided to retire from rhythmic gymnastics. But she loves the sport so much. There was a new team starting in Georgetown, the Georgetown Sunflowers, and we approached them, and I knew the coach very well and asked if Emily could coach. Well, they were over the moon delighted, so that the adults didn't have to perform the moves to show them. They could use Emily, and she would be there to help out. And it's been amazing. Emily gets invited to the coaches' meetings, the coaches' end-of-the-year parties, and they treat her with such respect, and she's very proud to wear her T-shirt that says Coach on the sleeve. Emily's faith is amazing. To Emily, Jesus makes sense. She loves to worship. That's her favorite part of the service.
I love Jesus, I love singing, I love communion.
Emily is a prayer warrior. She has prayed for her sisters and brothers. She has seen answers to her prayer. I asked her the other day even if she prays before she goes to a competition, for example, and she says that she does. She was made in the image of God, and she was made perfect the way she is, and His glory can be fulfilled through her life every bit as much as it can and more than mine.
Always follow your dreams, make it happen, and let's love what you do.
Question time. How did Emily's mom trust in the Lord with all her heart? Have you had a time in your life when you trusted in the Lord with all your heart?
Emily's mom learned to trust God, and that took away from the stress and concerns that she had before. Today, she now looks at Emily as an amazing, beautiful person who fully trusts Jesus with everything. Remember, when we trust God, He'll partner with us. Whether it's the big things or the small things, He'll be there for us. Let's break into our small groups to see what this looks like in our lives.